Structures are a significant part of the city as physical, meaningful pieces of a city's story, transcending time, and as objects can transform and adapt to keep relevant to the present. Unlike other historical artifacts that one can only see and touch, buildings allow for a lived experience through the body and mind. There is also a distinction between artificially constructed buildings that try to replicate history, as in the instance of themed parks, such as the open-air Museum of Sovereign Hill in Ballarat, Victoria, as a recreated 19th century gold mining settlement, and true or original historic structures, as Tawari explores. In the former, the experience is artificial, whereas in the latter, people can walk through an original structure and truly experience history in the present time. In this sense, these buildings are concerned with time as opposed to history. For instance, heritage shopping arcades continue to be experienced and lived in the present, making for a meaningful engagement. Aldo Rossi argued the significance of monumental structures for their heritage and permanence. He maintained that a city's important structures or urban artefacts are significant parts of a city as valuable primary elements charged with meaning that form and continue to form the city. Rossi was inspired by these urban artefacts, by their permanence and by their ability to transform with time. With time, the form of these urban artefacts remains permanent, but the function can change. In this sense, these urban artefacts are not only structures of the past, but relevant to the present, as a new layer or continuation of a city's narrative. The Palazzo della Ragione in Padua, Italy, for instance, was originally a city hall and is now a marketplace, demonstrating that heritage structures can adapt over time. This idea of adapting function almost contrasts with modernism's idea form follows function, where modernists often designed on the basis of a specific function and form followed. Rossi, on the other hand, suggests that function can follow form. When we relate Rossi's ideas to the present, we can see his influence in approaches to architecture, where there is now an increase in people and architects acknowledging the importance of heritage buildings. This is evident in adaptive reuse projects, which retain heritage structures and adapt them to new functions. Thus, primary structures are significant elements of a city for their history, permanence, and ability to be truly lived in and experienced, along with their ability to transform with time, creating new layers as a continuation of a city's story.
I, however, am distorted by similarity, by all that surrounds me here. These are the words by Walter Benjamin. Aldo Rossi was very fond of the German philosopher, so much so that he made the comment that this quote could have been written at the beginning and at the end of one of his books. We are so affected by our surroundings, both natural and built, and we can influence the built environment as individuals and as a collective. So how are we distorted by similarity? Let's take a look at Salvador Dali painting, Suburbs of a Paranoid Critical Town, Afternoon on the Outskirts of European History. This painting uses street settings and buildings inspired by Giorgio de Chirico's work, which entails streetscapes painted in a way that alludes to something else going on, a feeling of paranoia. Deep within the suburbs of Paranoid Critical Town, there is something else going on. Now, quickly looking at a painting by de Chirico, Mystery and Melancholy of a Street, it portrays a silhouette of a young girl playing with a hoop. And now coming back, Dali's suburb also portrays a girl playing with a skipping rope. But this form is also echoed in the bell tower just above. Many other forms are echoed within the painting, including a building with the de Chirico-esque arches, which is echoed by the desk mirror in the foreground. When further observing the painting, it becomes less logical to the viewer exactly what they are observing. De Chirico was also an influence on Rossi's work, and art is an excellent example of how we can examine the difference between observing and engaging with our surroundings. For instance, when we observe a painting by an impressionist artist, we see a moment trapped in time. Now, how beautiful it must have been to be working in the outdoors when Claude Monet painted this painting, The Walking Woman with a Parasol. The intention here is to capture the light and the shadow, and from this we can interpret that it was a bright sunny day, and perhaps with some of the rhythms in the brushstrokes, it may have had a gentle breeze. Now, this moment is caught in time, almost as a photograph was taken on that day before the photograph was even invented. But this moment has come and gone. Looking at certain forms of modern art, the moment may be yet to come. Salvador Dali is obviously meticulous at capturing so much detail in his work, and his craftsmanship and technique is certainly worthy of the status of a master. By using his paranoid critical method, distorting objects and placing them in different settings, the art of his work is how it is interpreted. The art here projects out of the frame of the painting and even the visual plane and into the minds of the viewer. For as long as there are minds to view his work, the moment in his art form continues on. Yannick Joy, a psychology academic, looked at the psychology of biophilic architecture and discusses theories proposed by Stephen and Rachel Kaplan. Throughout our evolution, we have observed our surroundings in two main ways: complexity and mystery. Now, complexity is a setting where one may ask, how much is going on in this particular place? How much is there to look at? And mystery would be a setting where more information can be acquired by penetrating it more deeply. This is how we can either observe or engage with our surroundings. And back to the words of Walter Benjamin, I, however, am distorted by similarity, by all that surrounds me here.